that's what they were pushing. A lot of people are pushing, hey, go to college. If you want to make yourself better or get a good income, you have to go to college. So I was, part of that movement. And I was like, I want to get my degree because I want to do it for myself. But yeah, I thought I was kind of in the same boat where it's like, hey, if I don't get my degree, I probably won't get a good job.
Wow. This video is brought to you by Tony's Pizza and Restaurant. My wife and I eat there often. And if you're looking for some real, authentic Italian food, Tony's is where you need to be. They're located on 108 Boston Road, Springfield, Massachusetts. And their phone number is 413-732-6600. It's a great place to grab some lunch and dinner, or a great place to grab a beer after work. Thinking about that special gathering? Tony's got you covered. They have a banquet room that sits up to 70 people and a dining room that sits up to 100. Oh, by the way, if you're thinking about hosting that party at your house, Tony's got you covered. They cater as well. All around, Tony's is managed by a great family, and they care deeply about your experience. All right, welcome to myPrepPlus. I'm your host, Giuliano. Today's special guest is Robert Obeji. With myPrepPlus, it's very simple. Our mission is to connect people and professionals from all walks of life so that way they can share their ideas and create new beginnings. With our series Roots, we started on a venture to explore Americans from all walks of life, and it's a very simple concept. It's where you started, where you're at today, and where you see yourself going in the future. Robert Obeji is currently active duty Marine Corps captain down here in New Orleans, and he's been serving in the Marine Corps 12 years combined, and he started enlisted. He then ventured and became an officer. We'll get into details there. He has multiple degrees, 2 bachelors, a master's, and he has multiple certificates. Highly intelligent person. And Robert, we're happy to have you on the show. So welcome.
Thank you, Giuliano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very simple. It's we start from literally where you came from, and with that you can we'll turn the mic over to you, but you can start with your family. You can start your upbringing in the States, your father, your mother, your siblings. So show is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think like most families now, especially in the United States, with like it being a melting pot. My mom was South American, came from Peru, worked for my dad, and ended up getting, I was the bastard child. I was born out of wedlock, but my dad's Syrian, and he came here because he was escaping. Because back in Syria, they tried to recruit him to serve for the military, and him being Christian, they might have sent him to the front lines. I don't know. So, yeah, he escaped because he didn't want to, be recruited for, the Syrian military, and then fighting for, it's kind of the losing side against Israel. So he did that, escaped, and then my mom, they left because of political change. Like especially like in South America, you have a lot of political turmoil.
You're talking about your mother now.
Yeah, my mother, like she's from Peru, like Lima, Peru, and they lost a lot of money because of the government acquiring assets from like the wealthy class. So a lot of their real estate, a lot of their business was taken away from them. So she escaped. They escaped because they didn't really have as much. They had more opportunity to come to the United States. And then my dad escaped because he didn't want to be recruited. And there was more opportunity too out in the West.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I had me live in Southern California. Then I lived in Pasadena, California for about 10 years. I had a lot of learning disadvantages. I was dyslexic, so I had a hard time reading. I was able to overcome that through like learning programs and different tutors. So it was a little uphill battle, but I got that down. And I think a lot of people realizing now it's like learning is kind of there's no cookie cutter form of learning. Mm-hmm. Everyone learns on their own way. Like some people might be more tactile, maybe some other ones more, and then there's also blends. Some you might be auditorial with a blend of visual. So it's just everyone's a little different. Or you might even be tactile in one field and you might be auditory in another. You might be auditory in like writing and reading, and then tactile in, I don't know, mechanics or math. Yeah. So it took me a while to get my groove down, but once I got it down, it just started. It was a big growth pattern, exponentially able to receive information, retain it, and then you know, teach other people.
Yeah.
So yes.
So okay, so your father's from Syria, or was from Syria, and your mother's from Peru. Your father escaped Syria because of the wartime.
Yes.
Most likely he was going to be put on the front lines, and ended up coming to the United States. Your mother came from what was a wealthy family at the time. Unfortunately, the Peruvian government changed all that. So her family escaped. Did she come by herself, or?
No, she came with her mom, dad, and
Okay.
sister and brother. Like, it's not that they took everything from everybody, but they took a lot. So there was a lot more advantages out here, and you didn't want to risk. Let's say they took 80% of your wealth. Well, I only have 20% left. You want to wait till they take that too?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might as well escape with the 20% you have, and then that might be enough to buy a house.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of. I think a lot of people, like, even during like the Iranian Revolution, there was a lot of people that were really rich and they escaped. They were escaping because the government at the time, was going to take their money.
Now your father, he left Syria, but he has siblings as well, right?
Yeah, and they all started coming here little by little. All their families started trickling little by little.
So how many siblings did your father have?
It's like four sisters, and there's 3 brothers. So he's the third or second brother out of the 3. So 7 siblings.
So 7 siblings.
Yeah.
So the family had eight sons and daughters, and then mother and father, 10 in a household.
Yeah.
And then your mother comes from. Does she have siblings?
Oh yeah, a brother and a sister.
Okay.
Smaller family.
Yeah. So now they ventured. Did he immediately land in California?
Yes, he did. Yeah, and he was.
Same with your mother?
Yes. Yeah, they both came to California.
Wow.
Because there was just a lot more opportunity in Los Angeles. And then my brother was living with my dad was living with my brother, or his brother, because he was going to UCLA. So he was able to. It was much more affordable to live with his brother.
Yeah.
And then he just got jobs and started working. And then when he was able to provide for himself, he was able to move out. And there was a lot more opportunity too back when he was growing up.
We didn't mention that. So when did your mother and your father actually move to Los Angeles? What year was this?
Yeah, I think my mother got here, I think like 72 or something, 73, and my dad got here 1970.
So the 70s.
Yeah.
Different opportunity then,
Mhm.
for sure. Very interesting. Okay, so now your mother and your father, they meet totally opposite ends of the world, and from total opposite ends of the world,
Hmm.
and they meet in the United States, and then they end up having you out of wedlock. So then it prompts them to get married, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean they were good together for a while,
Yeah.
but I think me was the reasoning, like, hey, let's just settle down.
Yeah.
So, and that was good too. It's good. Like my dad was getting old. He was like 40, almost 40 by the time he had me.
Wow.
So yeah, he waited a little bit.
Okay, so now you're growing up, and then now your sister, your brother's introduced.
Hmm.
Who came first?
Oh, my brother came after me, and then my sister.
Okay. So you're growing up in LA, the outskirts of LA,
Mhm.
probably in the early 90s,
Hmm.
early to late 90s, pretty much. Different time period. You probably saw LA expand overnight, or was it already expanded?
It was expanding. It was like the suburbs, like you might have heard of, like the Inland Empire was kind of just barely like starting off, and it started flourishing like in the 2000s, and you start seeing a lot of growth in California in 90s and early, let's say the 2000s, early
Yeah.
2000s, before 2010s. It's not like anymore because a lot of people started leaving after certain policies, but yeah, before then it was an awesome state.
Wow. So, you mentioned some of the school systems, how I can actually relate to that. So how you weren't prime in certain certain abilities to learn, reading, writing, mathematics, most likely sciences. Were the school systems, were they built around assisting the students? Or did they have a robust system to actually get you to a decent reading level?
Yes and no. I mean, they put you in special ed classes for certain things, but like the math and science I was okay with. But I would say reading, writing, it's like I felt like you can never ever be normal unless you were out of those classes. And it took me a while to get, I got out of them right before middle school, but like, no, I don't think the system I don't think it's set up for it. The problem is also like, everything is cookie cutter. Everything is still kind of like, it was still a little cookie cutter. It took special tutors to figure out, hey, this is how he learns. They taught me how to read using blocks, and it just snapped. My tutor, like Business Muke, she's the one that like taught me how to read.
Wow.
So, and it was like using literally just blocks, like how to make sounds. That's how I read.
So here we are. Your parents are from opposite ends of the world. Now, did the languages that maybe, because I'm assuming English wasn't their primary language at all in the house. I mean, or how was that communication? I mean, did you learn Syrian, Spanish? Was both being spoken in the house? I mean, how did that work out?
Yeah, so my dad spoke Arabic and my mom spoke Spanish, but my mom was actually able to learn a little bit of Arabic as well, but not like fluently. But the reason why I didn't learn either Arabic or Spanish is because at that time, and probably other people could attest, you didn't want to be subject to going to, like, let's say for me, if I learned Spanish, I would have been stuck in like Spanish classes and they didn't have the best education. Oh. So my mom didn't want me to be marginalized and not have the availability to learn like better education in English classes. And so like when I was learning Arabic and Spanish and like kind of trying to learn English, the teachers, when I was like, I think preschool, they were like, hey, I think there's something wrong with him. Like he's mixing words. I'm like, well, because he's learning Arabic and Spanish. And I think they're starting to learn now. Like you use the words that are the most efficient. So like you might say like my is water in Arabic. It's just one syllable. And water and agua are two syllables. So I might say my, and maybe I might say my tomar. Like my or toma, I want to drink my. Or I might use one word in Arabic, another word in Spanish, and maybe another word in English. So I was mixing up words. They thought I was like having learning issues. Reality was I was just learning 3 different languages at the same time.
Yeah. So
instead of them, which I always tell my mom and dad, like, man, I wish you guys at least picked one. They just didn't teach me either English or they didn't teach me either Arabic or Spanish.
So English, pretty much.
Yeah.
But the other natural languages that they spoke were still being mixed in conversation, so it's understandable. All right, and so your brother and your sister come along. Now they're going through the similar school system you're going through. Now, did they experience sort of the same hurdles that you did, growing up?
No, they didn't have the same problems.
So they were pretty good.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Like my brother was actually real smart, but he was like, I think so smart that he lost his drive sometimes. Like he was just almost like bored of school. And he wasn't like challenged, and he just tried to do, I think because he thought he was so smart, there was a little arrogance that came out of it.
Interesting.
So he was just like, I'm just going to do the minimum. I bet if I could do the minimum, I could still probably get a good grade.
Yeah.
Sometimes he probably did get a decent grade, but sometimes he probably didn't get as good of a grade. Like maybe you got a C. But I think he was just like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so you're growing up in LA, 90s, you're going through the school system, you eventually make it into middle school where you exit the special education classes, you learn kind of how to put syllables together, start reading properly. Now your education, you start to, maybe I'm assuming, start to take an interest in learning. And as you move into, say, high school, at what point did you make the decision to go into a college, right?
Well, I started going, like, right after I went to community college because I don't think I was as competitive as I wanted to be to go into the colleges I wanted to. I didn't really know what I wanted to study, so I went to community college. And it was good I went to community college because it took me I changed my major a few times. And I thought I wanted to, like, for example, study political science. Nope, I didn't want to do that. Thought I wanted to become a doctor and study. I tried studying biology. Didn't like that as well. And I didn't want to fall prey to, like, if I didn't do middle school, like, well, I have a degree in biology, all this work for not getting much. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then I thought I was going to do geography. Enjoyed it, but I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And it wasn't until like before I transferred out, I picked economics. So I was like, oh, I like business. I like studying resources. And that's when I transferred over to university. So it was the reason why I went to college is because at that time I think there was a big push for people to go into universities. And I think people are talking about it now, but there was a big push for white-collar jobs because that's where the money was. And it was cheaper, it was, you could get loans fairly easy. And I think that's what they were pushing. A lot of people are pushing, hey, go to college if you want to make yourself better or get a good income. You have to go to college. So I was part of that movement, and I was like, I want to get my degree because I want to do it for myself. But yeah, I thought I was kind of in the same boat where it's like, hey, if I don't get my degree, I probably won't get a good job.
Wow. So while you're in high school, let's backtrack, right? Because I want to understand how going to high school in LA was in comparison. You could share how it may have been on the East Coast, right? How was it? Were the classes huge? Did you have like a 1,000 person? I don't know, right? Was there thousands of kids at a high school?
No, they're probably a little bigger. I mean, so for the first 3 years, I went to Pasadena High School, and then I transferred over to one of them in Rancho Cucamonga. But the first 3 years of Pasadena was it wasn't bad, but it was kind of ghetto. Schools weren't funded as well. And what I thought was a decent education actually was just subpar. It was okay.
How big were the
like 30 to 40 students
per grade?
Yeah, per class or
per class. So if you had to, I'm sorry, this was high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're in ninth grade, how big was the ninth grade, would you say?
The whole ninth grade class?
Yeah.
Well, it had to be at least like 400 or 500 people.
So the high school itself was housing, almost 2,000 kids.
Yeah, maybe more.
Wow. So there's no way you know everyone, pretty much.
No, you don't know everyone.
Wow. What a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was, okay, so that was, you said you went to Pasadena first and then you switched to another high school.
Yeah, I went to Los Osos out in Alta Loma, and they didn't have the same programs that were available in like LA. Like there were certain programs I was able to like take courses in the summer.
Yeah.
And that one, the education was better there, but I didn't have any friends, and when I was transferring like in the middle of the semester, my grades didn't transfer over, and I was like stuck. They didn't increase my grades, and I was like, man, my GPA is not as good, and I didn't want to go to like a subpar university.
Yeah.
But it's good that I didn't go to a good for university because, like I said, like I would have spent a lot of money trying to figure out what I didn't want to do. I would have spent a lot of money taking all these different classes and then realizing, hey, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I'll take that class, but I drop it. Spend a lot of money on that. I'll take another class. Oh, I don't like that. Drop that other class.
So the second high school you're in, similar body of students.
Yes.
Roughly.
But it was the community was a lot. There was a lot more money in the community, so
yeah,
it was wealthier. A lot of people have more privilege out there. It was just a better place to raise a family. It was safer.
Wow. If you had to recap your childhood lifestyle, you see, majority of your lifestyle was spent in lesser desirable areas than towards the later end of your childhood.
Yes, and it's good I moved because even though I might have messed up with my schooling and stuff, like a lot of my friends, from Pasadena were getting into drugs and stuff. And like I was able to meet some cool guys when I was going to Rancho. I started getting into like lifting, and they were more into sports. I started developing like better, healthier habits.
Yeah.
So it was actually kind of a godsend for me to, lose my friends, go to a place to make new friends, because the friends that were in the old area were actually going in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so now that makes sense. As you're transitioning out of high school, you're in your senior year, you're like, hey, I have the opportunity maybe to go towards a 4-year university, traditional, or start out in the community colleges, which in your case made a ton of sense because you're figuring out where exactly you want to end up. Sounds like you did a couple of majors, and then towards I'm assuming 2 years, you finally decide on economics.
Yeah, I picked economics, and then I was interested in like ROTC, I was thinking like, hey, like, well, if I do the military, it gives me good benefits. I get access to the GI Bill as well. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I'm ready to be stuck in the office. Even though when you commission, you get stuck in the office.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you're heading towards economics. And so the community college you went to was what?
Oh, I went to Chafee Community College.
Chafee Community College.
Yeah, I was in Rancho, and I went there. It was close. It was out in Rancho Cucamonga.
Okay.
Yeah. If anyone's ever watched Friday 2, that's like the community.
Okay.
Yeah, the burbs.
So wait a minute, you see next Friday?
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great movie, by the way. And now you're in a traditional university after your first 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the university you're at?
Yeah, so I went to Cal Poly Pomona, and that school was it was more favored towards the STEM majors, more engineering, and it was also really big on architecture. But it had some other components. Their premise was like, hey, learning by doing. So, great staff, great community, small school, and it was really affordable too. If I went to not that I would have gotten accepted, but imagine going to Ivy League to be spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a difference that education is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was doing the ROTC as well, and then after about maybe 6-7 months, I just wasn't gung-ho about that program. It was Army ROTC. I was like, well, I don't know if I want to be in the Army. It's a big branch. And I was looking maybe going to I'll try maybe the Air Force.
Well, let's back up.
Yeah.
What got you interested in joining ROTC in the beginning?
Yeah, just serving my country. I think it was a leg up. It was a leg up after serving the 4 years. You get that 4 years of experience, benefits, and then that's one way to getting in the either civilian sector or government sector. Either or, Yeah. It's a good way to at least build your resume.
Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe, like, share.